In the vast and enigmatic universe of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, few rivalries add as many questions as that of Jotaro Kujo and Dio Brando. Now, why do these two adversaries that are so different in ambition and moral standings wield stands that just mimic or more so echo each other in function and form? Say that these two shared similar souls before conception. That makes sense in both genetics and I guess a spiritual sense, because you're going to have genetics and characteristics that are outside of your control, of course. So let's say that Jotaro and Dio at their very core are similar. How could we prove that? Both Jotaro and Dio are stoics, but for entirely different reasons. Dio's background, like Giorno's, had made him learn that there isn't someone out there who will save or protect him from the bad of this world. He lost his mother early, so that became a huge point. Showcasing any negative emotions in this environment shows that you're bothered and have been affected, and feelings like that bring out those who will capitalize on those feelings and worsen your situation. So Dio thinks that these emotions show weakness, and to him, there's no reason to show weakness unless it's to get the upper hand on someone. And even when he's at his most level-headed, you won't see him being an emotional person, as I think it's all dead to him. When you have Jotaro, he thinks it's cool to be stoic. He's a gentle soul at his core, but will always see someone who's just unmovable. Referring to Dark Blue Moon Part 3, the chapter actually goes into Jotaro's, I guess, idea of himself. Jotaro doesn't think it's necessary to deliberately show emotions. He assumes that anyone can tell what he's feeling just by looking at him. It's not a good tell. And sometimes it causes misunderstandings between people. People often think he is cold and rebellious, and that he doesn't care about anything. And while his father was absent, his mother gave him all the love in the world, so he didn't really come out cold. He's socially inept, but a well-intentioned soul at this time. If their lives were switched, would they share enough similarities to consider them the same soul again? And I think it's possible, but I'm starting to think that the reason why these two have the same stand can connect to the idea of the same soul, but different positions in life. Suppose Jotaro Kujo had gone through what Dio had gone through. How Jotaro sticks to his goals and carries out his justice regardless of the adversity against him, it says a lot about his character and what he's become. In that case, I think he'd be an extremely determined villain over anything. Dio had no chance of aspiring as a child. He dedicated his life to not only surviving, but staying on top, as that was what truly mattered to him. He didn't have the opportunity to be able to protect his mom and want to the way that Jotaro has, because he had lost her so early on. Everything Dio had learned since infancy to his early teen years had contributed in controlling every decision he's made, and also was the reason he was unable to be at peace in this mansion regardless of whether or not he had to worry about any dangers. Speedwagon said Dio was born evil, but that doesn't seem reasonable here. A lot of what Dio does makes sense in the context of his character, so if Jotaro were to be in this position, he may stand on his ground similarly. In my last video about this, I also had something to say about the design philosophy behind these stands, but to elaborate here, I don't think that the world is meant to be only a symbol of stopping time. It's a symbol of the concept of Dio, the holy diver. He's the one who had plunged into the depths of the sea and found the truths of reality and heaven. And while the gears symbolize time similar to a clock or watch, like I've said before, they also symbolize function, a direct order of how things are, regardless of your soul and adversities. Time continues, the wheels will spin still, and all that matters is being on top. That's Dio. Meanwhile, Star Platinum off looks alone would make you think, well, why is this Jotaro's? But I think that it's past that, as while the world is a symbol of what Dio is, Star Platinum is more so a representation of heroism and free-flowing justice, because, I look to his red scarf, for example, right? Free-flowing red cloth, Kamen Rider, Superman, Bardock? Characters like that. It's the same soul, two different paths. One who got dealt the wrong cards and ended up making his life only about himself. On the other hand, the other had a better upbringing and had been thrown into a position where he had to be the hero for others, even if he didn't originally plan to do that. Though I will say it's hard to make this case not for Dio but for Jotaro. At least with Dio, I know that alternate dimensions with Dio having him have the world do exist, but there has been no Star Platinum stand that's just been the case for the last 3 parts now. So, well, at least for the time being. So if we can't exactly provide or prove this in an overall historical way, we just have to take Jotaro's position in the story into consideration. In part 3, Jotaro starts off as a somewhat reluctant hero, as the stories go. He was a high school student that was just suddenly thrown into the world of stands, and now he's fighting life-threatening battles like it's clockwork. And despite his initial reluctance, he grows into this protector figure, not just for his family, but for his friends and even for strangers. His stoicism, a trait that could have isolated him, becomes a source of strength, allowing him to remain calm and collected in the face of danger. Star Platinum in this phase can be seen as a representation of Jotaro's heroism, his emerging heroism, and his untamed spirit that's learning to navigate this complex new world, defining his path of justice and righteousness. Moving on into part 4, Jotaro takes on a more mentor-like role, guiding the younger generation while still being a formidable force himself. His journey goes from a quiet teenager to this now matured mentor figure that showcases a development in not just his character, but also his understanding and use of Star Platinum. It is here that we see Jotaro's deep sense of responsibility, his unwavering commitment to justice, his prioritization of others over himself, and just this commitment that speaks of a soul that has chosen the path of the hero, the path of goodness and all that, despite all the challenges and adversities he's faced. In part 6, his role evolves even further. His dedication to protecting his daughter Jolene is added even greater personal sacrifice, has a lot to say about his character. It's a testimony to his evolved understanding of what being a hero is, which is no longer just about fighting the forces of evil, but also about nurturing and protecting the future generation, like how he was with part 4. And his relationship with Star Platinum here is like a seasoned vet with like his, like his trusty weapon, his guy, and they've just built this relationship over just so many years of battles, and it's just a reflection of this deeper understanding of his own strengths and weaknesses. So, analyzing Jotaro's journey through the parts, it's fairly clear that, yeah, Star Platinum isn't exactly Jotaro's, I guess, like initially, but it's the sign of what Jotaro is to become, and the sign of the path that Jotaro has taken, and the sign that Araki has given him, that you will be the hero. This is a representation of you. It showcases a soul that's just matured and chosen a path less traveled by a lot, proving that, even without like another Star Platinum in recent, from at least parts 7 through 9, Jotaro's spirit itself is just this distinct and, I guess, unyielding place in the narrative, and that he is the hero and everything that he intends to be because of his intrinsic values of justice, protection, and growth that define his character. I feel like that does make a lot of sense, and Araki has given me a lot of reason to believe that he is very much capable of very deep thematic symbolism and all that. But if the takeaway from this video is I don't believe what Caleb is saying, they have the same stand because they have the same stand, honestly, I wouldn't even fault you for it, because it is a really hard sell for a lot of people. But I hope that my perspective was given well enough. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.